and what's and whys and wherefores. Here you'll find your what-nots and therefores. So come on along, let's find out what's going on. Where's and when's and who's and what's it's. No matter what your taste, you can trust it's the place where you can find all your new Disney news. Where's and when's and who's and what's it's. No matter what you taste, you can trust it's the place where you can find all your new Disney news.
Welcome to the Sweep Spot Current Events Edition.
That's right. Current events up through September 2nd, 2022. And, we've got this new format. And our previous episode was a main topic episode. We talked about Tomorrowland. And our next main topic episode coming up will actually be about the Jungle Cruise. And it'll be a really great episode that you won't want to miss. But for the time being, we're going to be talking about Disneyland Resort current events.
But if you're wondering, who are these people? Ken and I are both former Disneyland Custodial cast members, and we're bringing you Disneyland current events, news, and more. So I think we're going to get right into the current events, right? What do you have first, Ken?
Well, Lynn, Disney is reportedly exploring membership programs similar to Amazon Prime. And that's a report at laughingplace.com. This hit the news that the Walt Disney Company is reportedly exploring the idea of introducing a membership program that would offer discounts and special perks for their streaming services, parks, resorts, and merchandise, according to the Wall Street Journal. And, of course, this came out, we're approaching D23. We'll be there at the D23 Expo coming up on the 9th, 10th, and 11th of September. That'll be, in booth 206, so come by and see us. So, some of this news is going to trickle out before the Expo, and then there'll probably be announcements at the Expo about this stuff. So, as the story says, according to the Wall Street Journal, the membership is currently being compared to Amazon Prime, which not only famously offers free shipping, but also includes access to Amazon streaming service and has benefits in-store at Whole Foods. Internally, some execs have even been referring to the offering as Disney Prime, although this won't be the official name. So now I suggest, I came up with a name that you might want to use.
Okay.
How about the Magic Kingdom Club?
Ooh.
Huh?
Like that's original, right?
That's really original. I mean, why they should call it the Magic Kingdom Club. Okay, while Disney already has membership programs such as the D23 Fan Club and annual passports or Magic Key on the West Coast, this membership would apparently be geared more towards casual fans. Well, that's interesting because I think if they're looking for a way to get out of annual passes, they should say if you're a member of this service, you can buy, park admissions for a discount. And if you buy like a bunch of admissions together, like let's say you have a family of 4,
right?
What if you bought 80 admissions so that each member of your family had 20 admissions, and maybe that'll last you the year. What if you could do that for really inexpensive if you were in this program? So we'll see how it interacts with annual passes and Magic Keys, or if it ends up replacing them, or what happens. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this program.
Yeah.
But it does continue. The service could offer an array of perks, including exclusive merchandise, one possible example of this is a dark saber toy that would be available only to Disney Plus subscribers. This membership program would also allow Disney to learn more about their customers' habits across multiple services. For example, a guest who favors Star Wars attractions in the parks may get recommended more Star Wars content on Disney Plus. And for me, I'm thinking like, hey, what if your favorite character is Ariel or something, like an example of how Disney could do this if they really wanted to is, let's say Ariel is kind of the avatar you deal with when you're dealing with Disney's apps and online offerings and things like that. And maybe when you go to the park, you have a meet and greet with Ariel or so, there's just, there's different ways they can handle this if they wanted to. So, but it does say here, Disney has reportedly considered adding perks to the membership from third parties like discounts on Disney Broadway shows. So, what do you think about this, Lynn?
Sounds like a good idea. I'm just really interested to see what it all includes, and what the specifics are in it. Do you think they'll mention anything at D23 Expo about it?
I think that's why it got, into the Wall Street Journal when it did.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a coincidence.
True.
Yeah.
We will see.
We'll see what happens. Stay tuned, folks. Whatever they decide, we'll talk about it when it comes out. The official Disney Parks blog would like you to know that there's a mobile cast complement feature now available on the Disneyland app. So, according to this official Disney Parks blog, to access the mobile cast member feature, search Cast Complement in the Disneyland app. Guests will be able to choose a positive sentiment from a drop-down menu. From there, they can enter the cast member's first name and hometown, which can be found on each cast member's name tag, and the date of their interaction. The recognized cast member will be alerted along with their leader, and they can receive a recognition. If you didn't catch a name, that's okay. You can still share a compliment about the location or area where your magic happened. La Laughing Place covered that story. By the way, all these stories are available at our website, the official website of this podcast, thesweepspot.com. And if you go there, you can click through and get, the entirety of these stories if you'd like. Now, at Laughing Place reports that some of the options that users can select are acknowledging our special occasion and creating a treasured memory, remembering us and making us feel special, making such a positive impact on my day, keeping us safe while we enjoyed our day, and tickled me until I passed out. I think I added that last one. But this certainly is great. I mean, some people have tried to offer compliments through Twitter. I know I've done that at another theme park. And, in the old days, you either had to write a letter through snail mail or you had to, go into City Hall and fill out something. But why not have this in the Disney app? I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I've heard some people talking about it and that have actually used it, and their only complaint was that they wish there was a place where they can write something about it, like include their experience, more specific.
Notes.
So
it should be that would be very good. That should be allowed. Of course, I guess people can still send emails if they want.
Yeah. It's hard to find though. It's not easy. I don't know why. But
I would not be surprised. Well, they probably don't want to be flooded with angry emails every time they change something and they move a bench.
That's true.
That's probably why. But they said, well, what if you don't get a name? What if? I'll bet you they could use facial recognition technology. Like, let's say you took a selfie with the cast member. I'm sure there's technology that can go, oh, well, that's so-and-so.
Yeah, because they have the pictures on file.
I mean, my employer, I walk in the door, even if I'm wearing you have to wear a mask if you come in here. All right, you do that, the computer still there's a camera that still identifies me. I'm sitting there, with a mask on, and the computer announces my name, and so the technology is there.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I work for the intelligence community. No, well, hey, what else is happening? Well, we have the Orange County Register. Brady McDonald is reporting that there's a headline to this story. It says, "What does Disneyland's new DVC Lounge mean for the future of Tomorrowland?" And I was tempted to say nothing, but that's not quite the case. As the story reports, it says the Disney Vacation Club Starview Station will open in the first half of 2023 on the second floor of the Star Wars Launch Bay building in Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland is full of unused space, including the Magic Eye Theater, former People Mover track, Starcade Arcade, the Tomorrow Landing gift shop, and the vast majority of Star Wars Launch Bay. So, at a minimum, Disneyland will not. This is why it's important to the future of Tomorrowland. At a minimum, Disneyland will not be taking a bulldozer to Star Wars Launch Bay over the next year or so, with the new DVC Lounge set to debut sometime before July 1st. So, Lynn, I know that, as a premier DVC member, you will be you'll be taking advantage of this, correct?
No, I am not a DVC member. I wish. But this is interesting. Like you said, they won't be taking a bulldozer to it, at least before then and shortly after that. But I still think that if there is a new Tomorrowland on its way, that it can be incorporated around that building. And it said the upstairs, right? So the downstairs will still be empty, or used for could be used for something. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see if anything's announced at D23 for Tomorrowland to add to this. We will just have to see. But it sounds good. I mean,
it does. The Star Wars Launch Bay remains one of the few locations still closed more than a year after Disneyland reopened following an extended COVID-19 closure of the park.
Ding, ding.
The massive convention-like space has been used sparingly for exclusive character meet and greets, fireworks viewing, and special event merchandise sales. So, and the story continues.
Wow.
The new DVC Lounge in Star Wars Launch Bay is a temporary installation, at least, at best, easily removed or relocated. A similar Magic Key annual pass holder lounge in the former Starcade Arcade was a limited time addition that quietly disappeared after a few months. Disneyland's first Disney Vacation Club lounge will be similar to other DVC members-only locations, atop Disney's Contemporary Hotel and inside Epcot's Imagination Pavilion at Walt Disney World. The exclusive DVC Lounge in Tomorrowland will offer member services, seating. Okay, listen to these,
Yeah.
Listen to these features, okay? It's got member services, seating, Wi-Fi, charging stations, air conditioning, and also carpeting. Well, I added that last part, but there's a roof too, to club members. Okay, so there you go. But seriously, if to have an exclusive place where you can kind of take a break, I've long wondered, if they can't think of anything else to do with Tomorrowland, they could fill it up with. They could have DVC clubs. They could have dream suite sort of things.
Yeah.
And key holder lounges. I mean, why not? If you're not going to do anything else, use the air conditioned buildings for some of those things.
Yeah, if you don't want to spend money, make money.
That's right.
All right.
So, MiceChat.com covers that story as well. So you can click through and read all of that. Laughing Place covers it. But now the moment you have been waiting for, Lynn, I know you've been on pins and needles waiting for this. Brady McDonald reports in the Orange County Register that Disneyland Silhouette Studio returns for the first time since pandemic. The Silhouette Studio at Disneyland will reopen at noon on Friday, August 26th, which of course has already happened. According to the Disneyland website, the Silhouette Studio will be open from noon until 8 p.m. from August 21st to September 1st, which has already happened. So starting on September 2nd, the studio's hours will be 8 a.m. to park close on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, and noon to 8 p.m. on Mondays through Thursdays. Studio artists create the silhouette busts from black craft paper at a rate of 60 seconds per portrait and can create a family portrait in just a few minutes. So that's, another sign of the return of what's been missing. Okay, the Main Street USA Silhouette Studio was one of the last remaining Disneyland locations to remain closed during the ongoing phase reopening of the parks. The Star Wars Launch Bay, Magic Eye Theater, and Tomorrowland gift shop at Disneyland, and the Hyperion Theater, Blue Sky Cellar, and Radiator Springs Curious Souvenir Shop at Disney California Adventure are still closed, and I'd like to add, as is the Rocket Rods attraction.
Still closed.
That's still on hiatus. Mice Chat, David Koenig at Mice Chat covers the reopening of the Silhouette Studio and talks about the history of it. So that is, you want to click through and read that. Here comes something that is of interest to people like former custodians and current custodians. The Orange County Register, again, Brady McDonald, reports Disneyland rolls out the green carpet with more artificial turf around the park. So, sharp-eyed Disneyland fans may start noticing the change from natural to synthetic grass throughout the park starting this week. A new artificial turf around Mickey's floral planter at Disneyland entrance and the Haunted Mansion front lawn will be unveiled on Friday, September 2nd, when Halloween time kicks off at the Anaheim theme park. Disneyland's phased approach of adding artificial turf in select locations every few weeks is about to pick up speed as a drought-tolerant approach to saving water. You know how else they could save water? It's just not open. Yeah. Disneyland has been reducing the amount of real grass that needs to be mowed with artificial turf that needs regular brushing over the past decade. The first major installation was in 2012 when Cars Land opened at DCA with artificial turf in front of Sarge's Surplus Hut and Flo's V8 Cafe, and in the queue at Luigi's Rollickin' Roadsters. Ground crews converted the natural grass to artificial turf around the Storybook Letters floral display on the hillside of the Storybook Land canal boats over a 3-day period in July. Swapping out the grass for turf on the Storybook Hill saves 81,000 gallons of water a year, according to Disneyland officials. Grass bands around the perimeter of Disneyland Town Square floral beds designed to protect the flowers from curious visitors, along with smaller grass planters near Disneyland City Hall, were converted to the turf in early August.
Those are my favorite kind of bands, the grass ones.
Yeah, I love the grass bands. Yeah. They were pretty popular in the 60s and 70s, weren't they?
For sure.
Laughing Place has a photo, has photos of this, these installations. Here's my thing.
Okay.
I don't like to play football on it. No, I think it's fine where the guests can't reach it, but like they have it in the Haunted Mansion, right? Not inside the Haunted Mansion, but they have it out in the waiting area. And if the guests can reach it, I mean, think about, I don't want to get too specific here, but there used to be all kinds of stuff that used to get dropped on the grass at Disneyland, and that it was, real grass and dirt helped us. If we couldn't clean it thoroughly right away, it would get cleaned overnight, especially, watered down and all that stuff.
I see what you're saying.
So, without that, I'm wondering how, how
a drink spill on it, or drink or ice cream spill.
If something worse happens, some sort of, Chapter 5 incident or something, Chapter 5 referring to our first book. But, who knows? Maybe it's easier to clean. I doubt it, though.
You still have to wash it off.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, I don't know. I'm from a custodial standpoint, I'd be very curious to talk to some current sweepers and night crew people and find out how it's working out for them. So we'll have to get some reconnaissance on that.
Popcorn spilt on it, how are you going to get that out of there? You have to use a hose.
Someone spills candy on it. Someone spills, sticky candy on it. I don't know.
That'll be interesting. You're right.
Especially out there in the hot sun, and
You know what made me think of something else with this was, you saw the concept art for the new Toontown. There was showing, at least in the concept. We know that concept art is not exact, but from the concept art, they showed a lot of grassy areas, and I can imagine that this is where this will come in. Even more.
Will it? Well, I can't imagine it wouldn't, especially if it's more durable than natural grass. I mean,
yeah. All right.
We shall see. Speaking of crimes, Disneyland crime reports. This is from the Register. Brady McDonald's. He's doing this once every couple of months, apparently. And it's the typical stuff, it's from June and July. And, you have stuff like, narcotics, and a citation was issued. Stuff like petty theft and whatnot.
Wow.
And one that caught my eye was Wednesday, July 13th, 2:34 p.m. Child abuse. Report taken. Well, if it's just a report taken, then I guess it couldn't have been too alarming. But, there were situations where you would see angry parents and, situations where you're thinking, well, if this is how bad it is for that kid in public, I wonder what it's like in private. So hopefully everything got resolved okay with that. Friday, July 22nd at 11:37 p.m., grand theft. Report taken. Somebody must have taken a churro. And again, on July 25th at 7:41 p.m., grand theft report taken. Another one that caught my eye was Friday, July 29th at 9:19 p.m., arson report taken. What did somebody, who set what on fire? That's what I want to know.
That's interesting. Arson. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, but as they point out in the story, police calls for lost and found property, patrol checks, and miscellaneous incidents were not included in this report, nor were homicides. I think I added that last part there, but as they point out, that statistically it's very, very safe. You're talking, scores of thousands of people coming through every day, and so there's bound to be something like that going on, but chances are it's you're safe there if you're behaving yourself.
Very safe. Yeah.
Now, MiceChat.com has several updates as usual. They have Disneyland Halloween Time Guide 2022 from Natalie Kipper. So you want to check that out if you're heading in for any of the Halloween stuff. There is a Dusty Sage update from August 22nd called Disneyland Update Achievement Unlocked and Preparing for the Future. So check that out. And another one, another Disneyland update. This one is from Mike Kendrick, and it's from August 29th. It's called Disneyland Update. All good things must come to an end. It's all about how the park is being shut down and sold off. And I'm just kidding about that part. But yeah, so by the way, I want to mention again, we're going to be at D23 Expo at the Emporium, booth 206. So if you're going to be there, come see us Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, the 9th, 10th, and 11th of September. But now I want to ask you about some, renovations that are going on still.
Well, before we get into that, I have two items. I just wanted to mention that I noticed you didn't, but I just thought I'd bring it up. Disney Plus Day is on September 8th.
Yes, I saw that, but I was, whatever.
Yeah, what do you mean whatever? So I will just happen to be in the park that day too. So September 8th, they're gonna open the park if you're a Disney Plus subscriber. You can get into the park 30 minutes early that day, and they will check on the app. I think you go to profile and then memberships, and it'll show it on there. But yeah, you get in 30 minutes early. Of course, not the whole entire park. I think it's just like early entry, like Tomorrowland and Fantasyland, I believe. But that's cool. And then there's gonna be like photo like ops and stuff going on throughout the day. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But another thing I noticed this week is Riverbell Terrace is now serving breakfast again. Because for a while they weren't doing that, and it's reservations. You can probably get a walk up, but you never know. But it is reservations on the app or online, and they're serving breakfast again. So it's been a few years when it changed to reservations, because before it was a walk up location. They changed it to reservations. They got rid of the breakfast, but now they're bringing it back. So, okay. So the refurbs I have. First one is Matterhorn bobsleds have a return date. Be October 14th.
And it's a new sponsor. It's sponsored by the National Chiropractic Association.
It is. Tarzan's Treehouse, no return date, but I have a feeling we're going to hear something at D23 on that. Monsters, Inc. attraction, back September 3rd, so probably by the time you hear this, it'll be open, or close to it. Sailing Ship Columbia is going down from the 12th of September until the 16th, and then again from the 26th until the 30th of September. The Mark Twain will be down between the 12th and the 7th, and return on the 17th of September. So actually both of them will be down for a little few days here. Both of the ships. Tom Sawyer Island, I'm still going to call it that. That's down from the 19th until the 23rd of September. And that is all I have.
Well, I'm speechless. I think that my guess is the Treehouse is they're going to announce an Avatar connection. How about that?
Possibly.
I mean, they've got the next set of movies coming out. Well, I know that there's a lot of changes still going on, and it's hard to keep up with everything. Breakfast reservations. I mean, what's going on? That's why you go with concierge. There are magical vacation planning partners. Look up concierge online. That's CONCIEARS.com. Concierge.com. focuses on Disney getaway vacations. So it's not going to add any cost to your vacation. It's just going to take a lot of the stress out of planning it. It gets really complicated these days. So go with somebody who knows Disney, and that's what they focus on. So if you want to plan your next Disney getaway vacation to Disney's Aulani in Hawaii, or Disneyland, or Walt Disney World, or the Disney Cruise Line, or Adventures by Disney, you want to go with concierge.com, and you book a package with them, so theme park visit, hotels, or, something like a week-long cruise, something like that. You book a package with them, tell them the Sweep Spot sent you, and who knows, maybe it'll be Lynn, and he goes, oh yeah, that's a great podcast. But you tell them that the Sweep Spot sent you when you book with them, all right? Because that gets you a special gift. So we want to thank Concierge, and they do have they're bringing us the D180, aren't they?
Yes, they are, but don't leave, because we have a special interview with a special guest coming up just before the D180, so you don't want to miss that, and then we'll go right into the D180 after that interview. So let's have that next. I thought we'd do a short segment and have someone that's been a really good friend of mine for many years. We go back many years, and I thought I'd bring him on the show, and he's someone that you guys are familiar with, but you don't know it yet. And he's the man behind the music, the man behind the Sweep Spot theme song, and that's Ray Hedgepeth. Welcome, Ray.
Thanks, Lynn and Ken. Good to be here with you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. So everyone's heard by this time. They've heard the latest song that you did for us. It was our for our current events, our news segment. It's going to debut on this episode, so they've heard it now. And yeah. And I just wanted to ask you a couple quick questions so people can get to know you a little bit. You grew up in Southern California, right?
Yeah, Southern California native, born in Torrance and grew up in Long Beach, California. And now I currently live in Lakewood, which is still the Long Beach area.
Right.
Yeah.
And
love it. I love it here.
Yeah. I did love it there.
Yeah.
I guess not enough, right?
Right. Yeah. All of the bands we played in together, it wasn't enough to keep you here, unfortunately. So.
That's right. I wanted to mention that Ray and I go back a long ways with our musical careers. I think I played with you first at church, and then we did some projects together over the years.
Yeah, and you were in my friend, Brian Ewer was in the Mer Babies, one of your bands. Right. Mm-hmm. And I was good. I've always been good friends with Brian, and then that's how I met you, and that's how I met Chris Bowden as well. And I've been in bands with all three of you guys post Mer Babies. So that's
I was thinking about that. The one of the bands we had was Texacalis, and that was a variety of different friends from different places in my life, with Paul and Casey. It's crazy. And Steve. So
crazy Casey. He's the best. Casey Brooks. He's still in my mind. Casey Brooks is a legend wherever he is right now. So if you hear this, Casey, this is Ray. You know I love you, and you know you're a legend.
He is a true legend. Yeah, and then later we did a country group, Hank Floyd, and that was a lot of fun. We had a lot of good experiences with that.
Yeah. Do you remember our swing band, though? It lasted for like a month. Do you remember that?
I don't.
No, so this was in the 90s when the swing craze was just, everybody was swing music was everywhere. And you and I always loved swing music, like big band music and the old stuff, Tommy Dorsey and Glenn Miller. Like you and I remember we talked about that music all the time. And we just said, why don't we try to start one? And so we did. And it just, we I think we had a trombonist. It's like, I don't know if I was playing piano or guitar for that thing, but we tried to put it together. I think we had like one rehearsal. By the time we got everybody together, we had like maybe 6 people, but it just fizzled out before we even played a show, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was hard to get everyone together for something like that.
Yeah, it's a bummer because you and I were like really into like, oh man, this music, this is crazy. Like labels are signing bands that do this music, and you and I always loved that kind of music.
Yeah, we did.
But it never, it just didn't quite take off. So I'm glad you forgot about that because I'm glad that I was able to remind you of that little glory day right there.
I remember it now that you mentioned it, but I forgot that you were part of that with me.
And I wrote, you're like, okay. I remember them saying, okay, what are our songs? And you're like, Ray, and I go, oh, and I had like maybe 3 songs that were kind of like swing songs, and we practiced them, and it just, it didn't really go anywhere. So I did not come prepared. I should have had like a full set of songs ready to go, but I didn't know I was going to be called upon to be the songwriter. So it was pretty funny.
Well, speaking of that, you play a variety of instruments, right? What was your first instrument that you learned?
Piano was my first instrument. My mom gave both my sister and me lessons when we were really young, and then from there to trumpet at about age 10 or 11. And then at about age 13 is when I picked up guitar. And then guitar became my primary, and still is my primary instrument. But piano didn't make sense to me, interestingly enough, until I started playing guitar. Because guitar is what, I'm mostly self-taught, and guitar revealed to me music theory, and I learned music theory by learning guitar. Then I went back to piano once I had learned guitar, and all of a sudden piano made sense to me. So all those lessons that my mom paid for, sadly, even though it was really kind of her, like none of it made sense because I wasn't really understanding the context of music. And then guitar is what really gave me that context, and then I was able to go back to piano. And then from there, it just, was other instruments. Like I think at 15 or 16, I started playing mandolin. Around 19 or 20, I started playing banjo, and then I picked up steel guitar, and that's what I played in the Texacalis, our old band. And then, just a little bit of this and that here and there, harmonicas, tin whistle, ukuleles, all sorts of stuff. So pretty much anything that I can get my hands on that's kind of a plucked string instrument or a keyboard instrument. I'll mess around with it and do my best with it.
I always thought of you as like the utility guy, the guy that could do it all. If you need this, here's Ray. He'll do it,
That's, utility is, I've heard that before. Like Ray's our utility guy for this band, just because I can we need this on this song, so I play that out and I use that on that song, and then so. And I remember in the Texacalis, there's only 1 or 2 songs where I played banjo, but one of the songs we did a solo where you did a drum solo, and then I would run over to where you are and hold the banjo up, and you would hit the drum head of the banjo.
That's right.
So your drum solo would go from your drums up to the banjo head, and then back to your drums. That was pretty fun.
Sweet. Wish we had video of that.
I wish. I know.
Well, who were some of your influences in music?
Oh gosh, you get to a point, especially like I'm in my 40s now, so it's like the influences. It's hard to even list. Going back, way back in the day, I was a huge REM fan. I know you were too. And then Echo and the Bunnymen. So like teenage years, it was those kind of people. The kind of alternative rock, demigods of that time, and. For me, Split Enz was like a huge influence, the New Zealand group, who then eventually became Crowded House. And then, then from there, started getting into more rootsy American stuff, some rockabilly or rockabilly influence kind of stuff like the Blasters and Dave Alvin and those guys. Then folk music, Peter Case from the Plimsolls. And then, but all along I was listening to my parents' old records as well. So while I was like kind of developing my own tastes, I was also listening to their Johnny Mathis records and Kingston Trio and Peter, Paul and Mary. So it just became everything. And then I know when you and I were in the Texacalis, like I listened to Bob Wills and his Texas Playboys, probably more than any band I've ever listened to. Like I think I've listened to every single Bob Wills recording at this point. Right? Because we were just listening to that and mining it for ideas. And then now it's like I just really admire great songwriters and composers, and I've always been into classical music. I love Maurice Ravel. I love modern composers like John Luther Adams and John Adams. Those are 2 different composers. I like crazy stuff too, like Harry Partch, who was this really bizarro guy who created an entire new scale of music, these microtones. And I mean, there's really very little other than, I mean, there's very little that I dislike apart from, like a few like mega star type of things, which is just not my thing, I'm not too into like Lady Gaga or that kind of stuff. And that's fine that people are, it doesn't bother me at all. But as far as like what influences me, it's the stuff where I'm like, how did that person come up with that? Like somebody like Tom Waits, how in the world does he, where does his mind go to come up with these ideas? So, if it's interesting, even if it is Lady Gaga, if it's interesting, I'll listen to it. So, I'm really influenced just by really ideas, who branches out and tries different things. That usually appeals to me. And then I love just sappy old great, like the old, I mean, I'm on a Disney podcast. I love the old Disney tunes. The Sherman Brothers are the greatest songwriting team. They're just incredible. So I just find myself open to music, and I love it so much that it's, anything can really be an influence.
Well, to bring Ken into this conversation, I know Ken is a big Weird Al Yankovic fan. So.
Oh, yeah.
Lynn, what gives you that idea, Lynn? Was it because I won't rest until, I have every piece of memorabilia in my house? No, just kidding. Was it the tattoo I got of him on my tongue?
Ken, you'll be pleased to know that I just here in LA saw the Weird Al show at the Wiltern.
You saw the LA concert, okay?
The LA concert, and I'm friends with Dr. Demento. So. Oh,
you are.
Yeah. So he and I went together to the Weird Al show, and we got to, do the whole backstage experience. And with COVID, it had been a little while since Dr. D had seen Al. So it was really cool to be there to kind of see the reunion, backstage at the Wiltern there when the two of them met and hugged and caught up, and it was pretty cool. So
I've got a picture with Dr. Demento from 4 years ago.
Oh,
it
cool.
was from the LA concert. It's from one of the two LA concerts on the previous Vanity tour, and I'm like, that guy looks too young to be Dr. Demento. but it was him, and I took a picture with him, and I said, hey, I used to work, right alongside Whimsical Will all the time, down at Disneyland.
Cool. So, let's see. I'm trying to think who else was there from the old radio crew that night. Sulu was there. Yeah. And I'm trying to. Was that it? There's somebody else was there, and I can't remember. Oh, well, obviously Bermuda Schwartz, because he's the drummer, but that's that's an obvious one. But yeah, no, Weird Al is definitely another influence of mine. The other band, the band that I mostly do now, the Amoeba People, is heavily influenced by that kind of comedic music. So Weird Al is a huge influence.
I always think of Weird Al when I think of you, because I don't know why, it's just the songwriting, like you have a humor to your music sometimes.
It's probably that he has so much variety to his musical interest, just like Al and the band. They've done so many different styles of music, and they just nail so many of them.
It's incredible what they can do. Yeah, I mean, just those guys are they're amazing. And then, Al's guitar player, Jim Kimo West, is like an accomplished Hawaiian guitarist on the side.
He's a Grammy-winning.
Yes.
All his entire band,
they're incredible.
They all have side projects, and they're all just really good musicians in their own right.
They're unbelievably good. Yeah.
And the fact that he's held on, he is such a perfectionist that. The fact that he has held on to the same band members all these years tells you how good they are.
Yeah, did you hear about how one of them, I think it might have been Jim Kimo West, who got COVID, and they didn't want to bring in another guitar player, so they just had him quarantined backstage.
Yes, he was playing backstage
behind plexiglass.
Weird.
And still playing the concert. That was just brilliant. So that
did they have a camera on him or something?
I didn't go to that show.
Oh, okay.
Those shows.
He did. I don't know if they had a camera on him, but he did take pictures and post them online.
Oh, that's funny.
So that's how loyal he is to his band.
Wow. So I wanted to ask you about the songs that you wrote for us. I know that the Sweet Spot theme song, we call it, that was, you did that a while back. And
yeah, how long ago was that?
I was trying to remember. I wanted to go back and look at all the shows, and I couldn't remember. I think it was, if I had to guess, it was like 2013 or 14.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. But
yeah, that was fun. That was a fun tune to write and come up with.
Yeah, I didn't give you much. I just said, yeah, we're doing a podcast on Disneyland, and
yeah. Like, oh, that's specific.
And I told you the name of the podcast, and you came up with this great song. So, thank you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, absolutely. I was glad to contribute something. It was, I think it was one of those things like the when you contacted me about it, it's almost like the best way to approach that for all of you young songwriters out there listening to this is just to immediately go with the first idea that pops in your head when somebody tells you this, because there's a certain rhythm to the way words work, and so Sweet Spot, of course, has a nice alliterative quality to it, and it has definitely a rhythmic quality, and so and then I just kind of started kicking around ideas. It didn't like necessarily come like right away, but I'd say, after working on it for a bit, then all of a sudden things just kind of started falling into place, and then you start. I guess I'm doing a little workshop for songwriters right here. That's what I'm doing. So,
I like it.
so young songwriters out there listening to the Sweet Spot, here you go. So then you then take this and ask yourself, okay, so Sweet Spot, like what is the story here? And so I kept asking, Lynn, I'm like, so like what he's like, well, see, it's about Disneyland, and we worked there, and it's the Sweet Spot, and I'm like, okay, and so you're looking kind of almost, I know it's a very, very short song, but you're kind of looking for a story. You're kind of looking for a narrative that you can, kind of lace through this music. And so eventually I was like, well, what is it? It's like, sweeping. You're keeping everything clean. There's this essence of like, when you go to Disneyland, it's unbelievable how clean even the bathrooms are. It's like, if the world had bathrooms as clean as Disneyland, there'd probably be less war. Let's be honest. And then there's just like, as soon as there's trash on the ground, it's gone. And it reminded me of, honestly, of a trip I took to Tokyo years ago. And I just couldn't believe how clean Tokyo was. Like this huge city just crawling with people. And I'm like, these people have to drop some trash occasionally, even on accident. But then what happened was, my daughter was really, really young at the time. She was like 3, maybe 4, and she was always up super early. So I took her, my wife and son were asleep. So I took her out to go find some coffee. It was very early in the morning. So we're in the streets of Tokyo really early. It's like 5:30 maybe, and there's these elderly grandmothers. They're like, every building we go by, an elderly grandmother comes up with this broom, and she's just kind of sweeping up and trash from the evening, and then she pops back into the building, and then you go around the block, and then another one comes out, like just kind of elderly folk, just like they're up super early, so like, it's time to sweep, So anyway, so I was thinking about that, and that's where the idea is like, oh, it's a magical kingdom in a mixed up world. I'm like, man, how cool would it be if walking through the streets of LA,
right.
where I'm from, like, I love Los Angeles, but man, there's garbage everywhere, so that's that was kind of became the mini narrative. You kind of latch onto that, and then musically speaking, I wanted something upbeat, and I was actually kind of, since you and I played in the Texacalis together, I just was like, hey, let's do something that maybe the Texacalis could have played, because that was a Western swing band. So that was really musically where the idea came from. And then lyrically, it was just a very simple thing of like, cleaning the kingdom, or, in your terminology, or just, kind of making things nice is a really, nice world to live in. And so that's kind of the thrust of the whole thing.
Well, the listeners definitely love it. We always get comments when we do events about the song, so I thought we got to have Ray on to talk about it. But you wrote this recent one for our current events news segment. How about that song? That was just recently, so
yeah.
That
one. Well, first of all, thank you, listeners, for enjoying the song. I'm glad you guys like it. I'm glad you like their podcast, this podcast, I should say, because it's awesome. I've listened to it myself. So, this one I wanted it to sound a little more like a Disney song, because the Sweep Spot song is a little more of like and it could be kind of a Disney song, but since Disney songwriters have been a big influence on me, I was like, oh, this would be a cool one to kind of make it very, very classic, kind of Disney influenced tune. And then I'm not sure where all the, I was young songwriters out there. I was asking Lynn, well, what do you want it to say? Like, what are you looking for here? And he's like, well, it's just, it's about news, the new, and so.
I didn't say much, did I?
I was like, thanks for being so specific, Lynn. And so then I just was like, well, then that's the kind of listing quality came. So that's kind of another trick, young songwriters. When you're trying to search your way into the lyrics, you're trying to it's like almost like you're in a dark room and you're just kind of feeling your way around. Well, you can start listing words and seeing, kind of what comes up. And I kind of started listing some words, and all of a sudden I realized, like these kind of, antiquated terms, what's it's and things like that, just seem to fit a kind of Disney vibe. And then pretty soon it just kind of, began to assemble itself, and it felt fun. And that's pretty much how it came to be. It didn't take too long to write because it's not a long song, But I'm going to say, though, I really like the instrumental part. I like how it goes into the minor key there for the instrumental. Yeah, that was just kind of unexpected. I was just messing around on the piano, and I've been working on this musical recently, and
the Sweet Spot, the musical. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to surprise you guys with that right now. So,
just kidding.
It's premiering. Awesome. It's premiering tonight on this podcast. But as I've been writing that musical, I've a number of the songs kind of have a major to minor shift here and there, and it just, since I've been writing in that vein for a while, it just kind of naturally worked for this song too. And so that's how it got put in there.
Well, I like it. Also, I just put down some, not really drums, I guess, a drum, because I just did some brushes and a cymbal for that one, because I
very rockabilly.
Yeah, and I didn't want to set up my drum set for that short of time, because I don't have a place where it's set up anyways right now. So I just did that real quick. I think it turned out okay. We'll see, but
we'll let the listeners judge.
Yeah, exactly. But it was fun, and I think with you and I playing so many years together, it was easy for me to just feel what was going on. I listened to it like 2-3 times, and then I just laid down a few things and tried it, and it kind of worked out. But again, I think just having that experience of playing with you, I just kind of knew maybe where you were going to go and how you were going to end it and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that is the fun thing about playing with people over many years, is you do get a kind of sense of, it's definitely a form of communication. You kind of know the phrases that people use and the way that they, kind of speak rhythmically, and so, so it definitely, applies to music as well.
Well, before we go, I wanted you to kind of plug some stuff that you have going on. If people want to hear more of Ray, where can they go and where can they hear more of you?
Well, again, thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. And I'm super stoked to be on your show, and super stoked to have songs on your show. So thanks for asking me in the first place. You guys, anybody out there can visit the Amoeba People. That's my band. That's Amoeba, like a single-celled organism. The Amoeba People. We do mostly science music, and it's zany, crazy, kind of Weird Al inspired science music. If you like Devo and you like They Might Be Giants and you like Weird Al, then you'll probably like the Amoeba People. And we do a ton of stuff with different scientific organizations, And we've got lots of stuff up on YouTube and our website. So check us out at the amoebapeople.com. We have great T-shirts too, by the way, if you're a science geek. And then I'm also working on a musical right now about Bill Gaines, the editor, the publisher of Mad Magazine.
Oh.
And so he right before Mad Magazine took off, he was the publisher of EC Comics. And a lot of people don't know this, but he actually went in front of a Senate committee to defend comic books. This was at the time in 1954 when people were saying that comic books were basically corrupting the youth. And so there's a theater group that I work with here in LA. They're called Captured Aural Fantasy Theater, CAPT, Captured Aural Fantasy Theater, and they do classic comic books live. They actually perform them live with the comics projected on the screen. And the director of Capt, his name is Ben Dicko, and he wrote the book for the musical. And I wrote the music and lyrics, and it has been a blast. We've been working on it for a number of years, and if you go to comicbookcrackdown.com, you can actually hear demos of the songs from the musical. That's the title of the musical. It's called Tales from the Comic Book Crackdown. And it's all about how Bill Gaines was super successful and popular with EC Comics. They published Tales from the Crypt and Weird Science. And then what happened was they basically got kind of railroaded by Congress and some parent organizations who thought that their horror comics were just going too far. And it almost put him out of business. But there's a nice twist ending at the end of our musical because, of course, if you know anything about Mad Magazine, which is how he kind of rescued his entire enterprise, Mad Magazine, of course, became the most successful humor magazine of all time. So that's what it is. The Tales from the Comic Book Crackdown. It's a musical, full-blown stage musical. We're going to be doing workshop performances of it in the spring. And then we're hoping to get it full stage production by summer to fall of next year.
Wow, great.
Yeah.
Well, Ray, we'll definitely put links to some of that stuff. I wrote it down in our show notes, and
awesome.
People can go check that out if they couldn't remember all that.
Yeah.
But thank you again for writing these songs, and just really appreciate it and appreciate your friendship over the years, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it really is my pleasure, and thanks for having me on, everybody. I appreciate it.
Hello everyone, this is Eric Johnson with Concy Ears, and welcome to the D180. While Ken and Lynn cover all things Disneyland, in the D180 we take a spin around the rest of the Disney universe, and we do it in 180 seconds. Let's jump right in. We start our journey this week in Southeast Asia. Why? Because other than Victoria and Albert's recent reopening, there isn't much to talk about in Walt Disney World, that's why. Okay, there's some fun stuff coming up with a new vacation club lounge in Disneyland, but that's likely part of a whole Tomorrowland thing. I think D23 is going to be kind of huge this year, but we all know how it goes with D23 announcements and their corresponding timelines for actual delivery. Yeah, that's a bit of a slight on Disney, but I can be negative once in a while. Look at Epcot. We're abandoning concepts left and right. Doesn't mean I won't spend half of my next trip in the park like usual. I mean, come on. It's Epcot. But Asia. Yeah. In recent years, Disney has partnered with a brand we all know and trust. National Geographic Expeditions arranges some of the most exotic and, dare I say, educational trips in the Adventures by Disney portfolio. Last time I spoke with all of you, I made light of some of Adventures by Disney's quicker tours. Hold on tight, folks, because this next feature features a pretty pronounced feat of scheduling. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's very late, and I just wanted to say feat a bunch of times in the same sentence. Please forgive me. Head to Southeast Asia on a 17-day tour. Because you're traveling with Adventures by Disney and National Geographic, you know you're going to see things that most tourists only dream of. Explore the Mekong Delta and its most famous markets. Enjoy 5-course meals in Vietnam. Take some time to visit the Angkor Wat Temple, a site rarely open to the general public. Then explore the rest of the Angkor Conservation Center. This site houses one of the last places on Earth where you can watch a true silk farm from silkworm to loom. Visit sites where emperors once ruled, meet endangered species like the Asiatic black bears, and learn about the efforts to help them thrive in the wild. Your trip with Adventures by Disney and National Geographic help fund further conservation efforts, ensuring future generations can visit both ancient temples and living animals. As you can expect, these trips run closer to the $10,000 range, but few tours in this world offer such a rich experience over such a long period of time. Take that, plaids. But if you want to book a trip to Disneyland with a VIP plaid experience, we can help with that one too, of course. Duh. And that's 180 seconds. I hope you enjoyed our quick spin around the rest of the Disney universe. If you would like to learn more about these Disney adventures or just have a few questions, please come on over. Visit the social media and websites of both the Sweep Spot and us, their official travel planners, concierges. We look forward to planning something special for you and your family. I'm Eric Johnson, and this has been your D180.